We are live. It's been a few days. I don't even remember. It feels like this week has been so long, yet it's only Tuesday. So it is Lace Flowers and Sutton McCraney, and we are back again to Gunflap. And today we want to talk to you about family portrait events.
Yeah, so this is something that we've actually touched on a little bit before in the early days of the Flavor Room. And it's something that came up again this evening because someone that we are in the talks with, who's going to be creating a limited series on Flavor TV, sent me a screenshot of an event with some well-known, we'll put that in air quotes, people in the coaching industry.
Mhm.
And the screenshot looked like a family photo. It was a flyer for some event. It looked like a family photo because all the people were the same shade. The
Every
same
single
shade of
one.
yeah, the same shade. And I kind of laughed it off. And the person who sent it to me, they said, "Don't they see that something's wrong with this photo?" And my response was, "Of course they don't, because they don't have to." Because when someone is in a position of privilege, that's part of the privilege. You don't have to be aware of the plight or the lack of representation of others
Hmm.
because the perspective is that of whatever the person is experiencing. And for these people, clearly it's privilege. But what I find interesting, Lace, and the person who sent this screenshot pointed it out as well. She said that she knows some of these people and she likes them. They are not bad people.
Hmm.
They would, I guess you would consider good people, whatever that means. And they are not rabid, Trump supporters or walking around, with MAGA hats or anything like that. These would be your liberal white people, right? Who are love and light, having friends givings and come one, come all and kumbaya around the campfire. But why is it that for the events, the summits, the awards, you name it, it's like a family portrait, right? And I told this person that the reason for that is, as I said, privilege, but also because there can be some distance there. They get to say, ugh, yuck, racism, ugh, leave me. Like, I don't tolerate that stuff. I don't see color at all. They get to say that, but they also get to say, oh my gosh, how can these things still happen?
Hmm.
This is 2026. How, how are we how are we allowing these things to happen? They get to have that distance because there's no self-awareness, because there's a lack of accountability, right? So they get to play both. They get to be the liberal white person who's tolerant and loves everybody, but at the same time can distance themselves from the responsibility and the accountability of reality for others.
Yeah, and using all them lovely words in their marketing, the
All of those
empowerment, the love, the light, the
yeah.
everyone's welcome. I love everybody. We're not leaving anybody out. We've got no problem with anyone and all those good things. But what we see, we hear the words, we see the words, but what we see is not matching up,
No, it's not
and
matching up.
they don't notice because,
They
like you
don't
say, they're
notice.
blind to their own biases. They don't even
Well,
notice.
and who's going to call it out?
Angry
Who's going
black
to
women
say
like
it?
us.
Yeah. Now, if I were to say, hey, y'all look like y'all related, right? Then I would be wrong. I would be sensitive. I would be pulling the race card, right? I would be toxic. I would be trying to bring other women down, trying to bring other business owners down. What if someone who's a few shades lighter than me said that?
Well, the lady that shared this screenshot with you happens to be.
She happens to be.
She was noticing these.
Well, if she says it, it's going to be different. Because that's when it's real. Right? If I say it or you say it, we need to be quiet, or that's not what's really happening. We're being sensitive. It's mindset, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And what people don't understand, this is the danger. Right? And there's some things I can't say on here, will have to be said on the podcast and other places. But this is the danger here, because this type of behavior is what really holds back progress. Pretending like things don't exist. Having the power to change it, to be aware, right? But choosing not to because you don't have to. And of course, they don't have a problem with Black people and brown people and whoever else, Muslim, otherwise. Because I'm sure all these people would gladly take my money, would gladly take your money. But having the representation in the marketing, not going to be there. So then you could ask the question, do these people really understand marketing? How it works on the subconscious? Because if you're saying you're for everybody and you are showing an image of success, which I would assume, and I think I can safely assume, is what they were trying to represent in their marketing, correct? You have everybody on there that looks like you. What is that saying to the subconscious? That success looks like what?
This picture.
This picture. Then the conversation would be, oh, no. That's not what we're saying. But you are. And if you're not aware of it, that came from what? Your subconscious. That because of the privilege, you get to ignore all of that and get to create for your marketing whatever aesthetic you choose. But this is what comes out when from your mouth you're saying something completely different. And this is the problem. And we see this as well with the luxury branding kind of stuff, right? Where they're saying, we want, for example, we want to empower moms, right? Empower the working mom. But the branding and the marketing is like someone living a champagne lifestyle. Hello.
We saw that just now.
We did. We saw that too.
We did, on an opportunity that we were presented with, and we had a look, and I was like, this doesn't feel like our kind of vibe, which is fine. We're not dissing anyone who wants to market in this way to particular people. By all means, do that. But make sure that what you're saying and what you're showing and what you're doing is matching up, essentially. They shouldn't be discombobulated. They should be congruent. And if that's not the case, check it.
It should be honest. A lot of what I see is not honest. You're saying women and blah, blah, blah. What kind of women? What kind of entrepreneur? Because in your marketing, they're all white, or they're all, champagne lifestyle. But that's not what you said in your messaging. That's not what you said when you got on that podcast. That's not what you said when I got on that sales calls with you. So are these people really incompetent with how marketing works? Or they don't care? I don't know. That's a question for all of you listening to answer.
Or completely blind to it. I think that's a thing as well. And I think that's the most dangerous part, is you can not care. You can be incompetent, or you can have something you're not even aware of. And you can't change something that you are not aware of. It needs to be brought to the surface. And you may hear us speaking and it might be like, oh gosh, that makes me feel some kind of way. That's your cue to listen in and look in the mirror and be really, really honest with yourself, because we are not dissing nobody. We're just trying to bring these things to the surface, because once they're in the conscious, only then can you start to do something about it, if you choose to.
But how many of those people that we've mentioned, or that type of person, would be like, yeah, okay? Because I'm willing to bet these are people that would like to distance themselves from that narrative of having some kind of racial bias. But when I go look at their stuff, it screams of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of them have had a podcast for eternity and not a, or they've had awards or magazine or whatever for eternity and not a single melanated soul. Summit after summit and not a single melanated soul. Why? All very interesting.
Absolutely is.
But
It's very
that's why.
uncomfortable.
Say again?
I said it can be very uncomfortable. Not for us.
No. Yeah, it can be very uncomfortable when someone tries to live life without accountability and then want to wonder why things happen the way that they happen. This is why.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people in the position of privilege are the ones who are able to create more change on a systemic level. But there's no benefit for them to do so, because why would you?
Mm.
But that's why we're here. That's why the flavor room exists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's why we're doing what we're doing. And this is why everyone listening or who will listen to this in the future should care. Whether or not you are Black, brown, or in between, white, or something else. Because all of this impacts everyone. Yes, for the context of this conversation, we are talking about the lack of representation when it comes to events and this type of thing in the online business space. But this can show up in offers. This can show up in coaching programs or otherwise in services.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have any of you seen this where the marketing is not honest? Even if it's not about, race or anything else, it's just not honest. They told you one thing and then they sold you something else entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or or no standards, or people are afraid to just stand on business, so to speak. Right? This happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or where there's no sensitivity to just human beings at all. Just all about money, money, money.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why this matters. And again, that's why we're here. That's why the flavor room exists. And that is why we wrote the Is It Legit research paper, to bring these issues that everyone knows they exist out here, whether or not they choose to acknowledge it. It's out there, right? So we wanted to bring that to the forefront, and that's what we did with our research paper. That is why we're having the event, the Flavor Room Experience, the era of legit online business. That's why we're having that event, to talk about the research paper, to have this conversation, and to bring to the light our certification program, the legit certification. That's why we're doing these things. That's going to be for people. All this is for people who care. The flavor room is for people who care.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The research paper that we've written that a lot of people didn't think that we could write, right? People who didn't think that any of this mattered. They wanted to know how this was going to make money, and hence is a part of the problem that we're talking about. This is why.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things that we are doing, even down to the certification that will be coming out later this year, is for people who care, who know that something is rotten in Denmark, so to speak, when it comes to the online business space. Whether or not they're Black or brown or whatever, they just don't like the vibe. They don't like, the false marketing. They don't like the lack of ethics, the lack of accountability. They want to do business a different way. They're tired of the culture of hustle, of copy paste. This is what all this is for. People who want a different way, a standard, and they want the real. That's what we're here for, and that's what we've created. So yeah.
We invite you to come. This is free. So y'all don't even have an excuse to say, oh, it was too expensive or whatever. This is a free event for everyone who cares to come to get involved, to hear what the findings were, to discuss them. And also, we're not going to give it to you in the most boring way we can possibly think of. This is an experience. It is immersive. We're going to have storytelling, spoken word, artistic expression. This is something you've never seen before in the online business space. We are shaking it up and bringing the flavor. So if you're interested and you're like, you know what? I want to see what these girls are up to, then come along. All you have to do is sign up at www.theflavor.biz/event. Everything will be in the comments, and bring your ass along. And even if you're like, oh, I don't know about time zones and timings, and maybe I'm going to be busy, and all, there's going to be a replay. So just sign up and we'll tell you what's happening, when it's happening, and make sure you get everything you need to suck up all this wonderful information when it suits you. Come and get it. We're waiting. We'll see you there.
If you care, there's no excuses. Period. That's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope. That was it. We'll see you again later in the week. Tomorrow's Founders Day. We'll be chilling. Peace.